I'll let you do it. BLaKBoXXRadio. We are in the box. It is Wednesday, 2/9/22. We're in the BMore BlaK Series. We are in our third, we have our third voice tonight. And it's just a pleasure to be in space with Black people and Black men. You know, that's what's up. We got to be around our Black men and lift them up and platform up. And we have a beautiful Black man tonight. We're going to get to him, but I'm going to first introduce myself. I'm Queen from BLaKBoXXRadio. I am a host here. We are a media platform for Black excellence. We platform Black people. We talk about Black genius, and we just disseminate information to the Black community. But also, it's important to humanize ourselves to other communities who don't know Black people. And so, because we're not monolithic, we are just everything, and we're magic. And so, in the country, nationally, this is Black History Month. It was deemed Black History Month by Gerald Ford in 1972. But we're clear that there's no history without Black history in America. This country was built on the Blacks of African people. And so we are history every day. And so it was intentional to start this series, which speaks to Baltimore and people in Baltimore who are Black and being very effectual in their space. That's what's important. We want to talk to Black people. So tonight we had Rashad Bowtie Mills. We ain't gonna leave that bow tie out because we're gonna talk about that too. So Rashad, welcome to the box. Introduce yourself to the people.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me, Queen. I appreciate it greatly. I'm glad to be back in a good health position to be here. Yesterday was really challenging. So Rashad Bowtie Mills, licensed clinical professional counselor. People see me on Instagram with Therapy Thursdays, my therapeutic piece Fridays, which is a motivational piece called Happy Hour. Happy Hour derived from me being an alcoholic. And I just made the spin on Happy Hour, meeting somebody at the bar at 5 p.m. for shots of Hennessy to trying to turn it around and dropping motivational messages every Friday at 5 a.m. That was my personal spin on it. Father, husband, believer. God is my God. And I should have started there. God is my God. That is really what defines me. Long distance runner. And that's just who I am. Author, avid reader myself. And just a side note, Queen, I'm picking up this thing. I'm really falling in love with cowboy culture. And speaking of Black history, I have I'm really, really into it. Taking horseback lessons. We'll get some horseback lessons soon. But just really diving into it. And this Black history note, just understanding that 1 out of 3 or 4 I heard of the original cowboys were Black and brown people. And so it is really, really amazing to know the history of Black people and everything that we can think about in this world, that a person of color was in the middle of it all. And that just excited me, knowing that kind of information. I actually attended my first rodeo in about 2 weeks. So I'm just trying to really, really take myself from, a guy that was born and raised in Baltimore. And I don't want to ever feel like that you can just pinhole me or pigeonhole me and put me in this box. I want to see the world. As a Black man, I want to be able to see this world and touch other parts of this world, talk to different people, cultures, and just learn. And then also have the opportunity to allow other people to see what a Black man from Baltimore is like, other than what's just depicted from, media and things of that nature. So I just want people to get a different perspective of Black people in general, but a Black man coming from a place like Baltimore. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You threw a lot out there.
I did.
So, yeah. The Black cowboy thing, that took me for a loop. That's amazing. That is definitely amazing. I'm a lover of cowboy boots. And a lover. I have quite a few pair. I love them. And not only that, the store I used to shop with, there was a Black guy. He was a cowboy. And he was always in full regalia. He sold me my boots, and he always took care of me, but I never forget him because he always had his boots on, the belts. I got a few of the belts too. I mean, I love that look. You know what I'm saying? So you just brought something out.
So you're already there. The attire.
Oh yeah, I got some raised ostrich. Yeah, bro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I got some gators.
Fashionable at that.
Yeah, of course. We got to do, we got to put Black on, and Black stamp is going to be fashionable. So I really, that is something that is interesting. I'm not a lover of horses. I'm a little afraid of them. honestly. But I think they're beautiful beings, but just a little afraid. But other than that, I think that's amazing. I just read
Mm,
something. I want to kind of put. I know we got to talk, but I just read something. I think it's a third generation family of cowboys in Texas. They bought this stallion, and his name is Black Lives Matter, and he was just introducing his first race, and they're going to breed him, and it's going to be names of all black things. I was like, that's
wow.
so amazing. So
Yeah.
you go somewhere and you put your money on Black Lives Matter, you know what I'm saying?
You can't beat that.
You
That's a
can't
winning
beat that.
that's a winning bet.
That's, that's a winning bet right there. So that's what's up. So Rashad, we're going to talk about you. You know, you bought the black cow. You should have never bought the cowboy stuff up. I'll be on that all night. But let's switch it back. So you are a Baltimorean, born and bred, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. And so, what part of Baltimore?
I was born and raised on Park Heights Avenue, 4633 to be exact. So I stayed on Park Heights Avenue. It was actually my grandfather owned he and my grandmother, they owned the property. So my mom and I stayed there. And I moved to Baltimore County when I was about 10 and started attending, schools in the Woodlawn area. So,
Okay,
Southern Lane Elementary, Woodlawn Middle, eventually graduating from Woodlawn High School, with Baltimore City for about the first 10 years of my life.
okay. So you're a little 15 certified. We're gonna let you.
Okay. So I have some Zone 15 cred. Okay.
Yeah, you got some.
Okay.
You got some. You got just as much as I got. But yeah, that's what's up. Okay, so the Park Heights area, and you went to Morgan.
Yes, Morgan State University, the
You know, I
orange
always
and
got to
blue,
bring that up because I'm a Morgan grad. We got to get that beer life together. You
the
know what I'm
orange and
saying?
blue of MSU.
There you
So
go.
it was kind of interesting how I landed at Morgan when I was kind of searching for myself and trying to find out, what I would do in the face of life. One of my mentors, Dr. Julianne Malvo, who was one point the president of Bennett College. She's a
Yes.
family friend of mine. My great aunt mentored her, and at the time, and I'll just be 100% honest with you, Queen. My cousin and I, we were out selling drugs, and we just weren't, the best people. And I always tell people I was trying to channel my inner Tupac, right? I just thought I was Pop, that I could run in the streets and
I
down
love it.
Pennsylvania Avenue. One thing led to another. In 1997, I got shot. And
Wow.
after I got shot, my leg close range, I was like, man, I have to do something. My life can't end this way. I've seen it too much, family members, friends, and I just needed to do something. So I kind of, was really trying to navigate my way through life. And then I got a call from Dr. Julianne Malvo. Went up to one of her estates in Washington, D.C. at the time, set my cousin and I down. And she said, I have two choices for you guys. You can go to school in Benedict College, which was in Columbia, South Carolina, or Shaw,
Yes.
which is in L.A. And at the time, my mind was still, sort of this fake gangster street mentality. I said, well, I'll do South Carolina because if something pops off, I can always get back home. That's how my mind told me, right? And so
Oh
I
my
went down
goodness.
to Benedict College, excelled for a year. My cousin left after a half of a semester, fell in love really quick and moved up to New Jersey with a young lady. Um, and that didn't work, kind of going back and forth, and that didn't work. It was a good learning experience. And then eventually I came back here and went to CCB, and I was like, I need something more. And somebody said, well, try Morgan State. And I was like, okay, try Morgan State. And Morgan State was it for me. Morgan State really allowed me to be around, and not that I couldn't have excelled in any other college or university, but be around my people. And at the
Mm-hmm.
time, I still wasn't fully mature because I was still partying, coming into class on Saturday mornings with a hangover because I hadn't stopped drinking yet at that point. But Morgan State was a great opportunity for me to develop and hone some of my skills as a broadcast journalism major, I should say. And I got an opportunity to intern at Fox 45 and all of these opportunities. And it eventually led me to Oregon as a sports broadcaster. But if it wasn't for Morgan State University, my professors, Dr. Eric Dodson, saying, hey, Rashad Mills, I see something in you. You have the ability to be on TV, and really working with me. And these experiences at Morgan, I don't know that I would have fulfilled, at least for 2 years, this dream of mine to be on TV as a sports broadcaster. So Morgan State was everything to me. And now to see the growth of Morgan State when I drive past there now, I feel like a proud father, right?
Me too.
It was like, wow, my baby is really grown up. Look
Yeah,
at my
she
baby.
growing, ain't she? She
And
look good.
I'm just really, really proud of
Me
Morgan
too.
State and that growth and development. So that's how I landed at Morgan. But Morgan was a phenomenal experience. I just met phenomenal people, and I found out so many powerful people have ties to Morgan State University. They went to Morgan State. So it was really good. And I don't know that my college experience, and I was an older college student, but I don't know that that experience would have been as fulfilling if I was at, a predominantly white institution. That I don't know, because I felt like when I went in, I felt like my professors, Queen, they really cared.
Yes.
Like they really cared,
And
right?
they really pushed.
Yeah,
And they really held us accountable,
and it was meaningful. So when their
exactly.
students excelled, it was like I sensed that they really wanted you to succeed, and it wasn't just this cliche. I want you guys to go out in the world and be great. No, I really felt it, because that was one less black male in a bad situation. That was one less, black male that sort of fell victim to, the stresses and the ills of society. So I love Morgan State. Love Morgan State.
I mean, listen, all I'm going to say is ditto, ditto, ditto. It was a beautiful experience. I am proud to be a graduate. I love to ride by and see the growth. These kids don't know what they have because it's so beautiful.
It's a gem.
Not saying it wasn't beautiful when I was there, but they got something. They got something over there that's amazing.
It's a gem.
It is a gem. It is
Yeah.
that. It is that. So, listen, you are a broadcast journalist.
I can do some things.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can do when called upon, Queen. I can do some things.
All right. All right. So you went to Oregon
Yes, in
with
Oregon.
15
Yep.
Black people.
It may be 22. The number might be 22. The number
You
might
went
be
from Black
22, Queen.
Baltimore to Oregon,
Yeah,
and you were a sports journalist. What happened?
for 2 years. And I'm glad you asked. And I just like to keep it transparent with the people who are watching, because I truly believe that all of the things that I have messed up in life, or I didn't get the lesson early enough, and I'll say it that way. I truly believe somebody could benefit from it. So in 2000 and graduated in 2006,
Mm-hmm.
and that year, toward the end of that year, I think it was October or so. I want to say October. My mom said, "Hey, you got a call." And I said, "A call from who?" She said, "Somebody by the name of Lee Anderson left a message on the answer machine." And this is so long ago, people are still using like house phones and answer machine. And she
You
said, "Go in
dating
the house
yourself,
and check
brother.
it."
You dating yourself.
Yeah, I am. I'm showing my age, right? I'm 21, by the way. And she said, check the answer machine. So I went home and checked the answer machine. It was, "Hey, this is Lee Anderson from KTVZ Channel 21 in Oregon." And I was like, "Well, who is this?" So at the time, it was VCR. And I'm really showing my age. And what we would call your demo tape. And you just do a highlight reel of, "Hey, I'm Rashad Mills reporting live from Camden Yards, and tonight the Warriors play the Florida Marlins," whatever, right? And I'm just kind of doing my little spiel, but you would put your demo tape in a envelope, and you would send it out to all of these, open positions. And I was sending it to anywhere. I mean, it could have been in Iceland, and it didn't matter. I was so hungry to be a sports broadcaster, and I had sent it to Oregon and didn't even realize it. So every day I'm dropping them off at the post office. And when I called this gentleman back, he said, "Man, we would like to offer you a position as the weekend sports anchor in Bend, Oregon." And I froze, and I was like, "Well, where's Oregon?" I didn't say this out loud. Where's Oregon? And then when I got off the phone, at that time, my prayer life wasn't where it is now. It wasn't there then. I didn't pray to God about it at all. I said, "I'm gone." 2 words, "I'm gone." To quote the great Christopher Wallace, aka Biggie Smalls, "I'm gone."
You know it.
And at that time, family just came in and really supported me, making sure I got the things that I needed. And I went out to Oregon. And when I went out to Oregon, when I got there, it was this really small airport. I mean, it was a really, really small airport. And on the way to the hotel, it was almost like you would see like tumbleweeds. And I was like, "Where in
Wow.
the heck am I? This is not Baltimore.
Wow.
This is not Randallstown where I was living at the time." And I was, "Where in the heck is this?" And I got to this, to the hotel, and it was just, it was culture shock, but it was a good culture shock. And immediately, I realized that it was not even good, a great opportunity to come from Baltimore,
Yep.
go to Oregon and experience new life. Like the sports that I was accustomed to, baseball, football, and basketball, those weren't necessarily the major sports in Oregon. We're talking skiing and snowboarding. And one time, one
Mm.
of my assignments was to go cover one of the local snowboarders who was really good. And I'm on the top of a mountain, Queen, and I'm in like an Adidas sweatsuit with some Adidas on.
Oh,
And one of the snow patrolmen said, "Dude, you're going to get sick." He was
yes.
like, "Why aren't you dressed properly?" And I told him, like, I said, "Dude, literally last week I was in Baltimore." He was like, "Oh, okay." And so I got the proper attire and things like that. And it was just an amazing opportunity. And to be honest with you, my ego ended that opportunity because as I
Mm.
grew and grew, I would go into local establishments, again, bars and cigar shops. And it was like, hey, sports guy, man, we love you. And my ego was the size of Texas. It was here. I'm the man. I'm the man. And every night when I got off work, I would go out and drink and drive. And, I was the man. It was a small town. And I felt like a celebrity. And I knew in my mind I was on the way to ESPN to be like the next star. And I
Mm.
had a friend of mine, Chuck Wells, still one of my best friends. And he said, man, slow down. Nah, man, I don't need to slow down. I'm the man out here. He said, man, slow down. Because I would call, I'm drunk every night. And
Wow.
there was this one particular night, it was a Saturday night at a bar, and some of my colleagues had went to a wine and seafood festival on the coast of Oregon, and I didn't go for some reason. And I would actually go in their house because this town had like this college feel to it. And they
Mm.
would leave the door open. And I would go in their apartment and play video games, close the door,
Really?
college feel. And again, coming from Baltimore, we don't leave doors open. Right?
No.
And it was,
Wow.
and this particular night, everything felt really eerie looking back at it. And I was at a light, and at this light, it was the last opportunity to either go straight to go to my apartment or make a left. And I made a left to go downtown. So I went to their house, the door was locked. I was like, they never locked the door, but the door was locked. And I'm in downtown. I didn't go straight. That would have taken me back to my apartment. So I went left, went to a local bar and just do what I always do, go in and I would buy one drink. And most of the time, 4 or 5 drinks would be coming my way because I was the man, right? Rashad, you the man, you the sports guy. Hey, my wife and I, we love how you do the highlights, man. You're great. And I always would take it all in. And I had more than enough to drink that night. And at the time, it was flip phones. That was, the main thing. And I had a flip phone. And when I opened, I'm driving. I had the flip phone in the passenger seat. And when I opened up the flip phone to look, I smacked my face against the steering wheel. And I think I was, to be honest with you, Queen, I know, and I don't know the time, but I know I probably went out for at least a minute or two, knocked me out. And I have like a scar here as a permanent reminder. And when I'm, alert again, the cop is at my window. And he's like, roll down the window. I roll down the window. He was like, oh, man, you're bleeding. And I ran into the back of a old Suburban, not one of the newer models, but one of the older, sturdier models.
Oh,
So
so
when I
you was knocked up
knocked
real
up, so
good.
when I went to grab the flip phone, I looked, bam, face hit the steering wheel, and I'm in the back of a Suburban. And
Wow.
so the cop is there at this point, and I'm bleeding profusely. Blood is just jumping out of my face. So he said, step outside of the car. He said, license and registration first. So I grabbed everything that was in the glove compartment. Here, you look at it. That's what I told him. I said, here, you find it. I'm inebriated. I mean, I am gone. And I don't know if the word is still popular, but I was lit. I was lit. And
Oh,
I
you
don't
was
know if
lit
I can
up.
still say that, but I was lit up. And the officer sort of yanks me out the car and he said, we're going to do a field sobriety test. I took one step and I felt like the earth was crashing in on me. And I fell. And I'm literally falling like this. And I could see like the sky. I said, this isn't good. And I actually vomited on the officer's boot. I mean, I
Oh,
was gone. And he said, you're going to jail
you made
tonight.
it worse, bro. You put some vomit on his boot.
Oh man, it was awful. So long story short, this town is so small. He said, "Man, when I'm gonna have to take you in." He wasn't mean at all about it. I was like, "Okay, I understand." So I get to the station and I hear one of the officers, that sort of the receptionist, that say, "Man, that's the guy from Channel 21. He is wasted." And I was like, "Oh man." And this town is so small, they actually put the DUIs in the paper because it's a small town. Nothing is happening. There's no murders. It's nothing like that. It's nothing happening. I was there 2 years, and I think it was 2 murders in 2 years, and they were major events. And you
Wow.
know, at this point, they take me to the hospital, and this is to tell you how God is still in the midst of everything. They took me to the hospital, and the tow truck driver, I totally wrecked my car. The tow truck driver waited for me to get stitches in my face, and he took me home. And he
That's
said, "Man,"
nice.
he said, "Man, I know you don't know." He said, I watch you on TV. I know you're a good guy. You just, had one too many drinks." And the next day, I kind of woke up, face all scarred, and I immediately opened up the paper, thinking my name was in the paper. And from there, it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same going into work, and they would have to position me on the camera so people couldn't see the stitches, and would put makeup on it, and it got to be too much. But there was a gentleman there by the name of Chris Galoo, who was actually from Baltimore. I think he had grew up in the Towson area. His kids were actually born at GBMC. And
Okay.
oddly enough, this went on for a while. And then one day he just came in and he said, man, we can't do it anymore. We're going to have to let you go. And I was like devastated because I had worked so hard to get
Wow.
there. But what he did is, and
So
got
they didn't fire you immediately.
no, no, no. They
Okay.
they still let me hang around. I couldn't drive, didn't have a license, so I had to do a lot of really odd things like ride with my colleagues. The station was really small, 3 or 4 cars. So if they went out on a news story, I had to ride with them. When their news story was done, they would have to take me to do the sports story, and it just became too much, and it was too much pressure. And Chris said, "Well, man, we got to let you go, but this is what we're going to do because you came all the way from the East Coast, and it wasn't a performance-based issue. You did your thing on camera. They actually paid me 2 months in advance, and that really was like it was just like a blessing. So I actually stayed out in Oregon probably another month unemployed, and I still didn't learn. I woke up every day and played basketball, and then in the evening I would go drink.
What?
I still hadn't learned my lesson. And so that's what actually took me back. And on the way back, on the plane ride from Oregon, I vividly remember thinking, man, you worked so hard interning at Fox 45, doing everything you could to get to this point, and you blew it. And it was like it
Wow.
was one of those moments in my life I'll never forget. It's like you blew it. Um, and what are you going to do now? And that was like the key question. What are you going to do now? Because I had worked so hard. And once I got a taste of TV, it was like, no, I will be on ESPN before you can blink. And I blew that opportunity. And that's what got me back to Baltimore from Oregon. So it's been it's
So
been a
wow.
wild ride.
It was alcoholism that
Alcoholism,
wow.
alcoholism,
Okay.
alcoholism.
So
And
what have you conquered that demon, or where are we at
absolutely.
with that?
I'm glad you asked, and I just challenge anybody that's watching the BlaK Box Radio with myself and Queen is to really address the demons that we have inside, because I think it was a great facade for much deeper issues like feeling depressed and not feeling validated and never feeling like quote unquote the man, right? And I think that alcohol allowed all of that stuff to be um, to bypass it, not really deal with it. And
Hmm.
so I teetered back and forth for a long time. And then July the 18th, 2015, that was my date. My cousin and I attended a Jill Scott concert downtown Baltimore. And I'm double fisted, already drunk. And we're driving home. And she says, man, you don't need anything. I said, let me make one last stop. And I had went and bought some cheap vodka at the time because my tolerance was so high. It didn't matter what I was drinking because I was drinking all the time. And I bought some cheap vodka. And I went in a house that night and I said, God, I don't never want to drink again. I had went to AA before, but I was going not for myself, for relationships. It was like, hey, if you go to
Hmm.
AA, we can still make it work. But I really wasn't going. I really wasn't truly invested in it. I was going for something else, and it never worked because I wasn't involved in it. And that since that night, I never had to drink again. I prayed to God. I said, God, I never want to have to drink again. And
Mm.
July the 8th, 2015, that's the start of my sobriety day. So this year I'm working on 7 years. Um, yeah, and I know people always ask me, was there moments do you want to drink? There's moments that I've been around it and it doesn't even phase me because I truly know that if I picked up a drink again, it would be the I would feel like the biggest fraud to myself and to others, and I know it would be unbelievably detrimental for my life. I know I could never recover from it, never recover from it.
Well, I want to
So
say
that
congratulations.
thank you. That was the end of it, but it was a wild ride in Oregon. Um, Yeah, it was a wild ride. Had a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Wow, congrats. I mean, but we have to. Some of the biggest issues that I see is us pressing our problems. And usually times
Hmm.
we press problems with drinking, getting high, some type of addiction, because it's sexual, it could be food. There's so many addictions that are present because people are not dealing with their stuff. So
Yep.
I say congratulations to you, but I'm glad you're back in Baltimore and you changed everything up. Now you're in the mental health field.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So when it was a great connection from Oregon. So when I got back from Oregon, played around with different things. Worked at like an overnight radio station for like one day, just doing anything. And I really tried hard to get back into TV and radio. I
Oh,
tried
did you?
hard, but it never would happen. It just never happened. I thought the opportunity had just, was the song "Keep on Passing Me By." Yeah, so I think it was just kept passing me by. I was like, this is not meant. And I come from a family of women educators, principals, assistant principals, And one of my cousins at the time, she was working at a school, Mountain Royal Elementary Middle, and she said, well, try substitute. I said,
Hmm.
substitute? And this is what my pride is saying. But then I also had to have that reality check, like, dude, you are broke. You are broke. So I walked into the school one day. This was toward the end of the one summer. And I'm just looking at the kids, and I'm like, I could do this. And they brought me, substituting, and they liked me, and they brought me on the next year as a substitute. And then they said, well, why don't you become a paraeducator? So I did a
Mm.
paraeducator and worked in the school for about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Well,
And
can you
actually,
tell us what a para? A lot of people don't know what a paraeducator is. So, what is a
to me, the
paraeducator?
paraeducator is the best way that I could describe it is a teacher's assistant. You're really working with the teacher
You're working with the teacher. Yep.
on a day-to-day basis. And teachers do so much work. It
Yes.
gave me this inside track to see how hard men and women work throughout this world to educate our kids. And they should be paid like athletes, honestly. It was incredible. And I did that for a while. And somebody said, hey, man, you're a black male working in the school. You would be a shoe-in for Teach for America, this program, right? A black male wanting to teach. Perfect. Let's try it.
Mm.
So I applied for Teach for America, and I got declined. I was like, what? I just knew I was a shoe-in.
Yes.
And till this day, I was, God, why did this happen? And I know the reason why it happened. It was a young man, and I won't say his name. He was a second grade at the time. This kid, Queen, was brilliant, sharp, witty, but he was very temperamental and very emotional, i.e., like me. And I would watch him the day-to-day basis. I mean, he was sharp. I mean, he had this kind of wit that I would listen to his jokes or his sarcasm with the teachers in the second grade, mind you. And I pulled him
Wow.
aside one day. We were in the hallway, and we had passed the library in the school. And I pulled him aside, and I said, my man, let me talk to you. And I said, well, you know what to do, but you always do the opposite of the right thing. And he said, well, Mr. Mills, my brain tells me what to do, but I always find myself, as you said, doing the opposite. And I don't know why. And that created a spark in me. I said, I want to know about the human brain more and why people do the things that they do. I said, let me try therapy. Somebody said, hey, well, try Johns Hopkins. And for me, as a black guy born and raised in Baltimore, Johns Hopkins, this is this prestigious university. And to be honest with you, I didn't think that I had the um, the mental fortitude to even, number one, apply, to be accepted and handle the rigor of work that you're going to get from a Johns Hopkins. I did. I mean, I just didn't think I was that good enough. And the self-defeating doubt and those
Hmm.
doubting thoughts started to come in. So eventually I applied. Had this interview in Columbia. Hey man, we like you. And I was at Johns Hopkins. So stayed at Hopkins 4 years, obtaining my master's degree in what they call clinical it's like clinical mental health. They changed the name so many times.
Well, you don't know what you have a master's in. I need you to know.
They changed the name so much, but it's
I
like
get it. I get
clinical mental health counseling.
it.
And
Okay.
I don't really get hung up on the titles. And
Okay.
uh, I try not to get hung up on the titles, because if I do, then I feel like I'm going back to that egotistical place. And
Okay.
I'm Rashad, and I graduated from Hopkins. It
There we go.
it opens some doors, yes,
Hmm.
but can you do the job that you're required to do once the door is open, regardless of wherever you went? And so, yeah, that was it. So that's how I got to Johns Hopkins, and Johns Hopkins gave me an incredible amount of worldly therapeutic experiences. My
Mm.
practicum was at the women's facility in Jessup,
Oh,
with some of the
wow.
female inmates, and I've always been fascinated by the jail culture, right? And going in as a soon to be therapist and working in that environment, it was just fascinating to me. And then I had another one that led me to the Baltimore City Juvenile Justice Center,
Mm.
AKA, if you're from Baltimore, the kids would say baby bookings.
Hmm.
And I worked there for a few years with the young guys that were detained. And that was some of the most rewarding, but yet heartbreaking work that I would ever do in my life. Developing
Wow.
relationships with these young guys, and then they release, and 2 days later they're unfortunately murdered, or they're back in there. And so that was fascinating, and that just furthered my love for mental health. So, and how everything works together. God will connect all of these dots in your life. It's a series. Our lives are a series of dots. If we go back and look, oh,
Yeah.
this dot connected to this one, and this dot connected to this one. So it's a big series of connected dots until we transition. It really is. And I met a young lady by the name of Dr. Lenise Stevens, who's the owner of the practice that I work for now. And at the time, she said, I'm thinking about starting my mental health practice. I was like, okay, that would be dope. And one dot led to another dot. So I'm working at that practice now called Hopeful Counseling, doing therapeutic work. And at the height of the pandemic, I was working for another outpatient mental health clinic. But at the height of the pandemic, I transferred to Hopeful Counseling full time. And for the last 2 years, I've been there full time, and it's been a blast. Yeah, it's been a
Okay.
blast.
So you do telehealth a lot with
Telehealth, yep.
Okay, so you're doing a lot of that. And do you do a certain population? Is it women, men, young, family? What's your dynamic?
Right now, I work with families,
Okay.
individuals, do couples. The age range, I really stopped doing the younger. And I say younger, I think right now I'm probably like 15. It's like my ideal age, 15 and up. The younger people, I just moved on from that population. So once in a blue, I'll take a younger, person, but that's not really my preferred age range right now. It's like the minimum of 15. It's like where I like to be at right now. And I love working with couples. Working with couples is always fascinating. I just think the dynamics of two people, at one time in two different ways to see life and,
Mhm.
whatever issues that brought them to therapy is really, really cool. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. And you know what, your story, if you lay your story on some of these clients, they're like, yeah, he could definitely tell me something because he been through something. Because a lot of times you got to be through something to tell people about something.
That's what I have realized, and because for a while I would question God, why me as a therapist? I got my own stuff. Why am I a therapist? And I think that that's the reason, because a lot of the experiences that I've had, um, it really serves well for a lot of people. Like I know, had the suicidal thoughts. I know what that's like. Unfortunately, I've been incarcerated for a few months. I know what I know what that's like. So these different experiences really have led me to the person that I am today. But it's really a series of dots, and I'm still glad to be here.
I'm
Like
telling you, you
I'm
did it all. You've been shot. You slang on the corner. I mean, you could talk to them all, and that's a testimony for sure.
Yeah, I'm just let me just say this quick piece, since this is like Baltimorean, right? I'm so grateful, Queen, and thankful for this opportunity. Number one, I always tell my wife this, we always go into these really deep conversations, how blessed I am to be a 44-year-old Black man, just in general, any part of the world, but let
Just
alone
in general,
Baltimore, and just
yes.
have survived some of these experiences.
Hmm.
Like, I know, unfortunately, too many people have been taken out by,
Yes,
incarcerations, or, being shot. So I'm just blessed.
you are.
I'm really blessed. And I just have Baltimore, no matter how bad people will talk about it from afar, Baltimore is like this. If anybody watching, this is my view on Baltimore. And don't steal this, come up with your own, please. I think Baltimore is like the drunk uncle.
Ooh.
And here's what it is. Baltimore is like you having a drunk uncle in your family. You know there's some challenges there. You want that person to get better. You haven't seen that person get better yet, but you refuse to quit on them. That's what
Mm,
Baltimore is like for me.
great analogy. It's so unfortunate it has to be the drunk uncle, but it's just and that's a great analogy.
Yeah, that's my theory on it.
I really think Baltimore for me has this great dichotomy that we hear
Mm,
of the violence, we hear of the chaos and the things that's going on in Baltimore, but the texture of art, culture, and it's so black. I go to other cities and other places. My mom lives in South Carolina, and let me tell you, South Carolina is white as a piece of paper, bro. So real talk. So
mhm,
when I go there, it's almost like an experience because I live in such a black city, So, and it's just a lot of culture here, and a lot of the art scene here is amazing. I think, and people, they love their neighborhoods. Some people, like, they born in 15, now they come back, they raising their family in 15. They really really love Baltimore, and it's just something about it. I'm an implant. I came from another state, but I feel like I'm a Baltimorean now. Once you be here for a while.
Yeah.
You eat enough cheesesteaks and halves, bruh. Chicken boxes.
once you experience it, it leaves a permanent mark on you.
It does.
It
It
leaves a
does.
permanent
And
mark on you.
we got to nurture the city. It can come, and it hasn't gone anywhere. People say gonna come back. It ain't go nowhere. We just gotta fix some things. Like you said, the drunk uncle, he need therapy, bro. Yeah, Baltimore needs some therapy. So
Heavy
on
therapy.
that note, we do have a culture of some things going on in Baltimore. As a therapist, because what do you think is I would say this prescription to some of the ills that Baltimore see? Because we talk about the vacant homes,
Mhm.
that and the people didn't do that. We can't blame that on that has some city. The city is culpable in these vacants. But you have neighborhoods that's been disseminated. Park Heights, as you were born, go to Park
Mhm.
Heights now. There's no houses. There's not even a rat in Park Heights. So, what do you think as a mental health professional would help Baltimore?
That's a great question. Let me say this. I don't think it's a perfect elixir for the plethora of problems in Baltimore. It's not a one-shot deal, right? And so
Yes.
in no way do I want to have somebody watching BlaKBoXXRadio. Oh, he just thinks it's just this one-shot deal. No,
Yeah.
I don't think that at all. I think there are several major factors going on. One of the things that I think, and I'm really speaking about the population that I work with, younger Black males, and I saw
Yes.
this for 3 or 4 years talking to them. I just think that Baltimore lacks opportunities and hope.
Mm,
And if I think people operate from a hope perspective, if I feel there's hope, then maybe I can do this or that. But if I don't feel that there's hope, and this is the only way,
I'm
this
doing
is the way that
anything.
I'm going to go. And so
Exactly.
I think, because I want to start with the younger people, because I truly believe that if you look at maybe the ages of some of our brothers and sisters locked up, I think that it started at a much younger age because they didn't sense hope.
Yep.
They have to feel hope in, bless you, they have to feel hope
Thank you.
in the educational system, which is failing a lot of them
Excuse
tremendously,
me.
bless you. They
Thank
have
you.
to feel hope there in the educational system. If they
Yep.
don't feel hope in the educational system, then it's like, if I go to school and I can't get the help that I think that I need, if I go to school and I'm reading at 3 levels below and they may ask me to repeat a grade, I'm not going to repeat a grade because we know the stigmas that go along with that. The
Exactly.
streets is like a much better option. Um, if I don't feel that there's hope in jobs and I'm 15 to 16, then the streets are, the streets,
Yeah.
the calling of the streets is much better. And I just think hope and opportunities in so many different areas is what Baltimore is lacking. Right now, when you watch the news and you just see everything that's going on, to me, it just symbols it's like a lack of hope. There's a lack of mental health services for the people that need them the most. I truly believe
Mm,
that there are some things that we have to catch in our young people early on because if not,
early
if it
on.
goes
Yeah.
undiagnosed, then it escalates into
Yeah.
a different place. Um, you talk about the housing situation. People have to believe there's hope that one day I can walk in my neighborhood rather, and every place that a house should be, there will be a house there, not a vacant. That has to be
Absolutely.
depressing.
That is depressing. You're right.
It has to be
Absolutely.
depressing
Yes.
to feel that,
Ab-
right?
And to
I have to
see
have
it every
hope.
day. See
I
it
have to
every
have a
day.
hope, Queen, in the police department, in the legal system, that
Mm,
if I interact with you as a person of color, that it may turn out for me favorably. So it just hope all across the board, hope in a better system of jobs, whether you have college degrees or not. Because if I don't feel like that, you know what, I can get a job, then I know some other ways that I can go out and quote unquote get money.
absolutely. You you
And
are you are speaking it. You
then
definitely
those
speaking it.
opportunities are much more appealing than doing some other things because why? I don't feel hope. I
Mm,
don't feel hope. And when people ask me, and sometimes I'm very I'm very inquisitive why God allowed me to make it and not another 44-year-old version of myself. All the things considered the same. Grew up in a
okay.
single parent house. My father was locked up 30 years, right? 30 years. And I always tell people he just left actually my house today, left me locked up for 30 years off and on, 20 years, then a stretch of 10 years.
Wow.
So single parent mother. She's not highly educated, but she made everything happen. And I always say to myself, what's the difference in me as opposed to somebody else if we take everything, all the external factors, and they're the same? And you know what? I say hope. Hope is what allowed me to continue to drive and continue to say I can do better than this what I'm actually doing. I can, go get a master's, or I want more. Hope. And where this sense of hope came from is I had a few people in my corner pushing me. What
Support,
if the other
hope and
version of
support.
Rashad, Queen,
Yeah,
doesn't have some people in your corner pushing you? Whether it
absolutely.
was a professor at Morgan, whether it was Dr. Julianne Malvo, I see something in you. It's like, okay, hope, just literally having hope. So Baltimore right now is it's not a hopeless place, but in a lot of major opportunities that would make a city thrive, the hope isn't there. And when people become hopeless, we see some of the things that we're seeing now. Young people like literally killing people delivering DoorDash. That to me says hopeless. How much
Yep.
do you think that you get? That's hopeless.
What
Robbing
you
the
gonna
corner
get?
store, get $500. What does that last at? A half an hour?
You're not even gonna get that because most of this money is digital.
It's
Most of people sliding cards. They don't have
absolutely.
cash on them.
It says hopeless, and
Wow.
so and I would hate to put this one umbrella and try to cover all of these social ills that Baltimore is challenged with, but just opportunities and hope. When people lack hope, it's not good.
I totally agree. I say to folks all the time is a society that's oppressed and chaotic will react barbaric. And we see barbaric behaviors because of so much lack of access, lack of education, lack of hope. Everything you just said is it to me makes sense. Baltimore has two of the biggest issues that definitely affects the Black population, and it is unemployment and
Hmm.
low wage work.
Yep.
Those are the two issues that Black people are befall the Black population in Baltimore. 67% of Black people are experiencing low wage work and unemployment, and so that tends to trickle down from parents. And then we have a 12% of that is young people from 18 to 25 who are coming into the workforce. So we have this chasm here that we're not addressing, but we're building up neighborhoods, we're gentrifying, but we're not looking at what really makes people tick, what makes them go forward, what makes them want more. And it's becoming an issue. And until we look at it, well, not we, because I think me and you kind of know what the issue is. The powers that be, until they actually invest in what is investable, which is people,
Hmm.
we're gonna have some issues. And that's what I see going on in Baltimore. So you're right. I think a lot of young people feel hopeless.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when you feel hopeless, you just you turn and engage in things that
They're self-destructive. They're
self-destructive is the
communities
best way.
destructive, everything destructive. Just
And, and,
destructive.
and to be honest with you, Queen, I know this. I
Mm,
know this from being in that environment for 3 or 4 years, working with these young guys. Some of the things that they told me was eye-opening.
mm.
That I knew this would lead to this place, but it was the best choice that I had. Told me, I knew it. I knew it.
They knew they was gonna be locked up, but the
But this was
best
the best choice that I had, and that's really telling.
wow.
That's really telling. And I think that's more of a societal thing as opposed to just the young people. Now, we don't want to say, hey, you're 15, you know the difference between right and wrong. But there are some societal things that like factor into it. And a lot of these young guys say, Mr. Mills, I'm telling you, I knew I would land up here, but this is cool as opposed to where I was or what I was doing. And that was like really troubling to me.
It's troubling that you would choose to be locked up because that's safer than particularly what you were being
Yep.
free. That tells the mindset that and you have to, you know what, Michelle, you have to make that type of individual. That is not something normal to humans that you just choose to be and you choose to be in a cage. You
But here's the thing though.
choose to be
Um,
controlled.
here's the thing, Queen. It's so normal now,
Mm,
and I think we have normalized it that it's really normal.
yes.
It's really normal. What's abnormal is if you meet a black man in Baltimore and he can tell you, I've never been detained for a significant period. That's what? And that's like an anomaly in that world. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just unfortunately because we have normalized, these other things.
Yeah.
We have normalized. What was really strange for me as a therapist, and hopefully I'm not going off too far off track,
Well, do you?
um, is that when I was growing up,
Mm-hmm.
is that if I met somebody and they had two parents in the house, the biological parents in the house, and they were still together, and that was odd to me.
Wow.
That was odd because I've never experienced it. Most of my friends we never experienced. I had one friend, and his house was like the Cosby Show. It was the Cosby Show, and I would walk in, and I was like, uh, I was like the neighbor. I could walk in and do what I want, but it was just like, wow, man, you got both your parents here. Wow. I looked at him like he was an alien for years.
Wow. And you said something about normalization. Maryland detains is the biggest. It's in the state of not in the state in the U.S. It detains more black men than
Wow.
any state. So let's take that statistic when you say normalization, and when the state is actually a partner in normalizing detaining folk and jail and these type of behaviors. What do you expect for young people in society to elect? That is the issue, is when the state says enough of that, let's bring in programming, let's bring in counseling, let's bring in schools that are funded, let's have some after school programs, let's have some in school programs, let's do some technological programs. When the state says let's invest in more than jail cells, then the people in turn cannot normalize something that they're not being a part of.
Mm-hmm.
When you're being corralled into something, it becomes normal.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, yes, young people think, or most of us, we can't believe when someone is not gone to jail. But when you live in a state that loves to put you in a jail cell, the normalization kind of is a part of society, and it's
Yeah.
very it's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's really sad on so many levels.
It is.
It's really sad on so many levels that we have to look at certain people because you haven't gone through this particular thing, this particular stressor, this life event. If you've dodged that, you're like an alien. Wow.
Yep.
And it shouldn't be that way. But unfortunately, it is. I didn't know that fact about the state in which we reside, but it doesn't shock me at all.
Yep.
It
Maryland
doesn't
is.
shock me at all.
Yeah, that's what they do, and so it's that, and I really think that's what we see, some attack that we see in the state's attorney, and so, because when you stop locking up people, that's the course here. They believe in the lockups, and we got to look at that in our young people, because most of the young people who are going to these jail cells are our children, and it's a problem to me. It is
Mhm.
a vast problem that we have to address.
It's
So
a major systemic problem. Yep.
it is. It's a major systemic problem. So in Baltimore, so you don't live in the city anymore.
On the outskirts of it. Yeah, you can
Okay.
say White Marsh. So.
Okay, so you one of those pinky up Africans. I get it. You're not here in Baltimore proper like us. I get you, bruh.
Oh, Queen, I wasn't expecting that one. I wasn't
I know you
expecting that
wasn't.
one.
I had to give you that. So you pinky up. You in the county.
No,
I love that.
I wouldn't say that. Let's put it this way. I always know where home is.
I get it. I
I
get it, bro.
always know where home is.
Okay. So when it comes to mental health counseling, what is your next step? Are you gonna is this your sweet spot, or you have some
Well,
things you want to do?
at the moment, I'm really appreciating the opportunity to really serve people. That's what I view it as. But grand scheme of things, I would like to probably do mental health about 2 or 3 days a week. I have some time as a motivational speaker, so I really want to get that side of myself out on the road and just go out to colleges, universities, share different messages that will resonate with people because I
Yeah.
like to be with the people, right? The intimate settings with the people. I love the mental sort of exercise of preparing for a speech, memorizing it, go out and deliver a speech and talk to people. And then you get the messages, man, this point that you made, it really connected with me. That's what I miss. I did that a lot a few years ago. So I definitely want to do that. And I want to work smarter as opposed to harder. Find some ways to create, passive income. My kids are in the 7th grade and just free up, time. So high school will be soon approaching that I'm making myself available for all of their stuff. So that's really my goal. I'm in seminary school right now. So
Wow. Okay.
just kind of dibbling, dabbling, and seeing where that takes us. But one of the big things is I want to get back to speaking. I truly miss that part of it, being out with the people. That's
Okay.
that's fulfilling.
So you're a TED Talk guy. So you could definitely do a TED. I can see that. I can see you
I'm
doing
gonna
a TED
speak it into
Talk.
existence. Yeah, absolutely,
That's what's
absolutely.
up. That's what's up. So you're in divinity school, pastor? Talk to me,
It,
bro.
it,
How you
it,
get here?
I listen. I'll say this. Remember, it's a series of dots. Our life, right? It's a big our
Yep.
lifetime, a series of dots. And when I was drinking, there was an aunt of mine who, God rest her soul, I would call her, and when I would call her, I would be drunk. I mean, pissy drunk. Let's call it what it is. And when I would call her, I would start praying and talking about how good God was, and she would just fall out laughing. She would fall out laughing. And when I would end the conversations, this is a true story. I would end the conversations. I would say, "God loves you, Reverend Rashad." But I was just drunk. I mean, just drunk. And I would do it with her all the time. She was like the person I knew no matter if I can call her house 2 a.m. And she would say, "Where you at?" And I would tell her, "I'm gonna stay on the phone till you get home." She was that kind of aunt. I mean, like ride or die. And I could be in Brooklyn. So I'm driving back to Woodline, and I'm gonna stay on the phone with you. And she would stay on the phone. And I would, go into my rant and I would pray and I would say, "God loves you, Reverend Rashad." And then as I got a little bit, into different spaces and I was saying God is leading me to this place. I was like, wow, isn't that strange? Like, isn't that strange how that, I would do it while I was drunk and I would just pray. And I was still connected to God then. And I know that God has allowed all of these crazy experiences, like he kept me through all of them to serve a greater purpose. So that's how I got into seminary school. I felt it
Man,
was a calling. Yeah.
wow, you are really they say get some RR, Reverend Rashad. I'm like, I'm like, okay.
So we'll
That's
see
what's
where that
up.
takes me. I'm just in the beginning stages, though. We'll see where it takes
And
me.
what do you think about that? What do you I mean, because speaking is a part of pastoring,
Yeah. Well, here's what I'll say. It's seminary school has been eye opening because it's not like Bible school. You just study the Bible. It is. I think the goal of it is to not read a verse, a chapter, article. It's almost like, can you read through it? Can
mm,
you read through what's on the paper? What I mean, read through it. Can you develop a deeper level of discernment? Can you like
wow.
read through? And I'm just saying, can you take, the first, can you take John 1, the first chapter of the book of John,
Okay.
and not read just the words, but pull something out that's
Mm,
not on the paper? Can you go to that level of thought? And I think that's what seminary is. It's really eye opening. It's a different perspective, and it's challenging. It is challenging, but
mm,
that's what it is. It's not Bible college where it's, hey, let's decipher this. It's like, can you read through it to get this greater level of understanding and try to pull something out. And it's like viewing it from a different perspective. It's interesting. It's challenging and it's really rewarding because I walk away with a lot more knowledge every class. But it's challenging. It's still a master's level academic um, academics. It's
yeah.
gonna do some
I
work.
mean, that's interesting because most of us who would probably never go that path to hear what it's about, I'm gonna live vicarious through you because I'm not doing that. But it is just amazing.
It's
I mean,
fun. It's challenging.
there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just that's not for me. But that's amazing because I always thought that you're there quoting Bible verses and no, but you're like
No,
it's really really a thought process.
yeah, it's really different.
Okay.
Really different. Yes, it's really different. I'll share this really quickly. One of the things that is so interesting, I always tell people this, is we read, and not this particular semester, but last semester, we read Dr. King's letter from the Birmingham jail.
Wow, that's a heavy
From
lift.
Yeah, from the perspective and the knowledge that my professor dropped, and I was like blown away because I've read it before, but I never would have placed this with that. It's like, whoa, okay. Um, and it's deep. It's really deep. It's
Where
really
are you
deep.
in school at?
St. Mary's, yeah, St.
What
Mary's,
school?
St. Mary's,
St. Mary's. Okay, you went
yeah,
out. Okay.
yeah.
Wow. That
It's
that's
deep.
amazing. I'm listening to, what we do is like to hear someone's path or their steps. And I can hear from being shot, slinging dope or whatever. And now at this point, after all of these things that you've lost and learned, because I believe that lost or issues is the lesson in it. And
Hmm.
so now you're at a point where now you want to be a speaker and actually share and be transparent about what you have done and what you're going to do. And then the seminary part of it, the spiritual piece that kind of puts roots in that. So you're right. Your dots are amazing. They were challenging, but you're
They
here.
they're connecting, and not the way that I thought either, but they're
I know
connecting.
that.
Not the way that I had planned it. Let me be the first to tell you.
Well, the blessings is that you feel like you look like you're comfortable in a safe space, and so keep going. That's all I can say. Keep
Yeah, that's the only way I know. That's the only way I know.
okay, okay. And you know what I want to say to you? I appreciate you coming. I know you were not feeling well yesterday, and today you kicked it in the chin and you're sitting with me. So I appreciate that. I really do.
No, listen. I appreciate the opportunity. I like the platform that you have and this particular theme, um, because I know people from Baltimore. Somebody watching Black Box Radio, Queen, they probably have experienced something, and I'm not like the exception to the rule. There's a bunch of Rashad Mills out there, and it's just have hope. That's it. Just have hope that your current situation is not your permanent situation, and I know we got to wrap up soon, but like my lasting thought
Yeah,
is,
I want your jewel. That's your
yeah,
jewel. I want your jewel to.
my lasting thought, Queen, for everybody watching is make it until midnight.
Mm.
And this is what I mean by until midnight. I believe that my life, I know my life has been, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this happened. And I felt like if I could just make it until midnight, that's when my life started to change. And midnight is the point that most of us don't think we can make it until night, right? It's like if our life is like all this I'm going through throughout the course of a day. But if you can just make it until the night, night is symbolic of what? When you get to midnight, you have to go through another dark period, right? So you got to go through the dark period. Once you go through the dark period at 12 a.m., something happens. You now transitioning to another day. But once you go into another day, it doesn't automatically become light. Because some people say, well, I can just hold on. Sometimes if you just hold on, it gets a little bit darker, i.e., 12:01 a.m. It's still dark. But eventually, guess what? Night is coming up. And if you can make it until midnight, the dark period, another dark period, and then things will change. So many people think, well, if I can make it until midnight, it changes like that. It doesn't change like that. But if just make it until midnight. If you can make it until midnight, a new day, a new dawn, a new era, a new thought, a new connection, a new prayer, something can change the course of your life. It really is. If you can just make it until midnight. And I just been blessed and fortunate enough that whatever's been going on in my life, by the grace of God, I was always able to make it until midnight. And it's by God's
Hmm.
grace that the bullet hit my lower left leg and not my chest or a major artery, and I bled out. He allowed me to make it until midnight. That being an alcoholic, that I was able to shut it off. I had a lot of trouble, but I was not I. God was able to allow me to shut it off, right, and go through those dark periods, I made it until midnight. And then that new day, July the 15th, 2015 came in. That was my midnight moment. And just make it until midnight. Just make it until the day changes.
Mm.
Make it until the day changes. And I guarantee you it'll change the course of your life. But a lot of people, again, don't have hope and they don't feel like they can make it. You can make it until midnight. If I can do it, you can do it.
Listen, that's your first sermonette, Reverend RR. That's
Make
it.
it, make it
Make
midnight.
it to midnight. I love that. I absolutely love that. And they say you make it to midnight, it sure be better in the morning.
You
And
know what?
so
When I get off this line, Queen, I'm gonna write that down because I am a huge believer in writing things down. That's my first sermon. Make it until midnight.
yeah, that was I think you dropped a sermonette on me. See, you trying. I don't know what you're doing over
And
there,
I
but
think that comes from the book of Acts as well. Make it and talking about midnight.
yeah, write that
Midnight
down. That was
change.
serious. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
the chains pop off. Yeah.
I appreciate. Listen, I saw your story that you wrote. You wrote something on Facebook, and I said, man, I gotta have this guy. And you have been more than I even thought you would be. So I appreciate your candor, your transparency, the sermon, the jewel. Real talk. I do appreciate it. I mean, because that's what we're here for. A lot of times, people say, well, only 8 people were watching. I'm like, but if I change one mind, we
That's
change
it.
one generation. We
Yeah.
change. That's what it's about. It's not about. And then people can source this later and come back and say, if I could just make it to midnight. So
Mm-hmm.
we are here to inspire. We are here to help others in ways that we don't even know. This will be in the hemisphere, and you won't even know who this will touch. So
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate your words. I appreciate you coming on, even though you weren't feeling that well. We got to stay in touch.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Listen, I appreciate it greatly for having me on.
yeah, I really do. Listen, this has been BLaKBoXXRadio. We're in a BMore BlaK Series. This is our third voice, Rashad. We didn't see the bow tie, y'all, but this
I
is
didn't put on
Rashad voice.
the bow tie. I didn't.
Yeah, no bow tie tonight. Bow tie Mills was with us, and you guys heard his story. It's an amazing story of challenges and triumphs, and a person who continues to do some self-evaluation and do better in their lives, and that's what we all need to do. And sometimes when you hear what other people go through, you understand that your path, you can make it. You will make me preach. Make it to midnight. so I really appreciate you, Black Boxers. Please check out our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to BLaKBoXXRadio. It's right under our face. Stay with us. We have another voice tomorrow, and then we start again next week. So tomorrow at 7, we'll be on again with the 4th voice of the BMore BlaK Series. So BLaKBoXXRadio, Black Boxes, we boxed up and out. Can I get a deuces from you, bro?
Throw up the deuces.
Throw it up. Don't go nowhere, Rashad. I'm in the broadcast. Don't go nowhere.